Okay, so what we're making tonight is chicken and dumplings. And I've got just a regular sized pot. And I'm going to take my chicken that I have over here. Oh, let's turn on the water because I'm going to need to wash my hands. But I'm just going to take chicken and throw it in and start the process for chicken and dumplings. Chicken and dumplings takes a long time, so I'm just going to season it and boil the chicken. That sounds easy enough. And then I'll debone it and put the chicken back in the broth that we make. This is, you boil the chicken to make a broth, and that's what you're going to start your chicken and dumplings with. And then you're going to add more broth to it. But it's fairly simple, it's fairly easy. It is a lot of work, but it's worth it. It tastes really good. Okay, let me wash up my hands because I've had chicken on my hands now. Okay. Okay, now, got my hands all clean. And we're going to take the chicken, leave the skin and everything on it. Okay? And we're just going to season it with salt. Probably, I don't know, 2 tablespoons of salt. Probably about 2 tablespoons of pepper. And it looks like a lot, but once you add water to it, it's going to cook up nicely. And then I add probably a tablespoon of garlic powder to my chicken. And then seasonal salt. And it'll make a really nice broth. And you start out with chicken broth for chicken and dumplings. And then I'm going to add the Tony's Cajun seasoning for the chicken. Because, you know, you put that on everything really, a lot of things. It's really good on chicken. Probably about 2 tablespoons of that. And I'm trying to run through it kind of quick because it does take a long time to cook. Okay, and then we're probably going to add about 4 cups of water to cover the chicken. So let me do that. Okay, you're going to start out with your chicken and then add about 4 cups of water, season it really good, and then we're just going to bring that to a boil and let it boil and cook, and that'll make a chicken broth, and that's what we're going to start our chicken and dumplings with. Okay, it takes a long time, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and I'll restart the video when I'm ready to start deboning the chicken. Okay. So, I took the chicken out of the pot and I deboned it, and I took all the chicken off the bone. I took all the fat and separated it from the bone, so you just want chicken to go in your chicken and dumplings. I put it on a plate because it's extremely hot right now. But you have your chicken stock that you made with the chicken that boiled, and I'm going to add just over a little more than 2 cups of water to that chicken stock. And then if you need extra, you can do I use Swanson's chicken broth for just to add a little extra to it, because it always cooks down to where you don't have enough broth, to where, you know, you need more chicken broth to make your chicken and dumplings, because you want to bring everything to a rolling boil before you start dropping dumplings in. You can do any kind of dumplings you want, but I'll show you how I do mine because I happen to like mine. I like round dumplings. Some people roll them out to where they're flat and they're strips. I don't like that. But you have your extra can of chicken broth. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to take another can of water just put the water in the can of chicken broth and add that to it. Maybe 2 cups of water. Okay? Alright, now, what I'm going to do to thicken it up a little bit, now we're going to turn it on high, because like I said, you want to bring it to a rolling boil before you start dropping dumplings in. Okay? And I'll show you real quick what I do to thicken up the chicken and dumplings is I put a can of cream of chicken soup in with my water, and all that's going to do is thicken up your chicken broth and give it a nice chickeny taste. So, and you're going to add a little bit more water to this too, because you don't want it to be too thick, but you don't want it to be too thin either once you start dropping the dumplings in. Now this is just for the chicken broth. You want to go ahead and stir that in with some water. Yeah, I know, more water. Some people use canned biscuits for dumplings. I don't like canned biscuits for dumplings. But you can do that. You can pinch off canned biscuits, and you're going to get this cream of chicken soup to dissolve. I'm trying to run through this kind of quickly because this is time consuming and I'm running out of time, so sorry. You're going to get this to the cream of chicken to dissolve. Back to what I was saying though, some people use canned biscuits for the dumplings and just pinch them off and drop them in. I don't like doing that. You can do it that way. It's a good, quick, cheap way to do it. I'm going to take another can of water and put it in there to where the water almost fills up your pot. Okay? But you don't want it to boil over on your stove, so you don't want it to do that. But you got your cream of chicken in there, and you kind of want to make it break up because it's kind of being lumpy and whatever. You want to break it up and let it dissolve. And then you're going to bring it to a rolling boil before you ever start dropping dumplings in. So I'm just going to stir that in and let it ride. I turn it on high heat, and then I'm going to start making the dumplings. And what I do is I kind of pre-make my dumplings. That way they're sitting on a plate. That way you can just drop them in as you need and let them cook. Okay, I'm going to move the chicken. I'm not going to add the chicken back to the stock because if you do, then your chicken's going to shred and stick to the bottom. So you want to wait until you've already dropped some of your dumplings in before you add that chicken back to your chicken stock here. But it turns real like a yellow and makes a really good chicken stock. And really, you know, my grandmother used to say this all the time, and I thought it was hilarious. She's like, all that trouble for some flour and water and chicken. I thought it was so funny, but it is a lot of trouble to do it, but it's so worth it. It's worth it. It tastes really good, and on a cold, like today is a cold, rainy day where I'm at, and just on a cold, rainy day, chicken and dumplings just tastes good. It just makes you feel good. I don't know, it's great. I just love chicken and dumplings. You can do the same kind of chicken stock though with chicken noodle, and it's so simple. I'll show one day how to do that too, but right now let's get started on the dumplings, because the dumplings are easy and fun. You might get a little messy. And you want to get a bowl and get about 4 cups of self-rising flour. And yes, you're going to need all of it in a bowl. Okay? Just like that. Now, for biscuits, you want to sift this flour. But for dumplings, you really don't. What I'm going to do to make the dumplings, back to the dumplings. I'm going to take my flour. It's not sifted. It is self-rising flour. And I'm going to do it the same way that I make my biscuits. and I'm going to make them in smaller balls and drop them in my water that's to a rolling boil. But what I'm going to do to make it come to a rolling boil is I'm going to put the lid back on it halfway, make it come to a rolling boil while I roll up my dumplings. That way I put the lid on there so it doesn't boil over, because it will. And I've had experience with that. It boils over and makes a huge mess on your stove. So you don't want to do that. But I'm going to pour heavy whipping cream into my flour, just like I did with the homemade biscuits. Only we're not going to make biscuits, really. We're going to do it like this. Do it like this. Make your biscuit dough. Get it all nice and doughy. Okay? To where it sticks to your fingers real good and messy and messy, messy, messy. Okay? Just like you do the biscuits. Except for you're going to throw a little bit of flour on top of it to where it's not sticky anymore. And you're going to roll them up smaller than you would a biscuit. A biscuit you would roll up, you know, bigger. But dumplings, you want them kind of small. So what you do is put some flour on your hands and you roll them up small. And I'll show you, because with the self-rising flour, once you drop them in that chicken stock, they're going to expand. And you don't want dumplings too big to where you can't eat them. Now, you want to kind of make them about that size. I know I got messy hands, huh? Okay, roll them up about that size. Or you can roll them out flat and cut them in strips. Some people like that. And that's their way, but I like the little balls because, I don't know, that's the way my grandma did it. That's the way everybody else did it. So, my mom now cuts them in strips. If you like it that way, do it that way. If you like it this way, or you don't know any other way, you can roll them up like this. And it's kind of, I just fill up a whole plate full of dumplings. I'm going to fill up this whole plate before I start dropping them in. Okay? And it is time consuming, like I said before, but it's worth it. Everybody likes it. It's good. It's yummy. It's good cold weather food. I'm not real big on making soups and stews and stuff like that in the summertime, but it's starting to cool off here. So I figured, hey, it's cooled off. It's rainy today. It's, you know, my kids have been asking for chicken and dumplings, and it's my birthday, so yay me, happy birthday to me. And I like chicken and dumplings on my birthday. So there you go. What a better day to do it. And I can show it on YouTube, so there you go. Share, that's why, you know, the phone calls and stuff. My phone was ringing earlier, so that's why we had the phone calls, because everybody calling wishing me happy birthday. And if you hear my cell phone go off and start whistling, then that's a birthday message that somebody will send me. I'm sure that it will happen. That's why I kind of been trying to run through this video, not, you know, to be disturbed by the phone. So sorry if it disturbed you guys. And if you liked it, yay me. There you go. But yeah, I'm just going to fill up this whole thing with dumplings. And it's just self-rising flour and heavy whipping cream that you buy at the grocery store. And you roll them up smaller than you would biscuits. And I'm going to show you what it looks like when you start dropping them in. I'm going to do that here in a minute. I'm not going to fill up this whole plate because it's time consuming and, you know, YouTube videos aren't supposed to be that long. They could be, but I don't want it to be. I don't want anybody to get bored. Okay. Now, my chicken stock that I haven't added my chicken back to until I start dropping the dumplings in. And you want to drop them in. Look, I'm going to make a mess here. You want to get it to a rolling boil like this, and then you want to start dropping them in. Just drop them in. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I drop them in 10 at a time. and cover it back up halfway so that they can cook. But you don't want to cool off your water. You don't want to drop more than 10 in, because that will cool off your water and they won't get thoroughly cooked and they'll be real doughy. But what they do is it'll sink to the bottom and it's gonna cook and it'll like expand and rise to the top for you. And that's how you know your dumplings will be done, is they'll kind of expand and rise to the top, and then they'll kind of sink again a little bit. So you gotta watch when they sink again that they don't stick to the bottom. But you want to put 10 or 20 dumplings in, and then add your chicken back to it, so that way your chicken doesn't get all shredded. If you leave the chicken in the water, in the stock, in the chicken broth, it'll shred and start to stick to the bottom, and you don't want that, because then if it burns, it scorches the bottom, then your whole pot of dumplings will taste like burnt chicken. You don't want that. So you want to stir it, but you don't want to stir it too much. You want to keep it at a rapid boil once you start dropping the dumplings in. You want to keep that rolling boil going. That way they get thoroughly cooked and they're not so doughy. But they are going to be awesome. My hands are all messy, so I'm just going to keep the video going, but I might have to cut some when I edit it, so I'll keep that in mind. But it does, all the dumplings can be roughly, roughly the same size. You want them all roughly the same size. That way when they expand, they get thoroughly cooked. But I just pinch it up, roll it up in my hand, and there you go. That's how I do it. And usually if you have it at a rolling boil, they'll start to rise the dumplings will start rising to the top in about 5 to 6, maybe a couple of minutes, and then it'll, I'll show you. Hold on. Let me get messy again. They're going to rise to the top like that and expand, but they're not done yet. So you kind of want to keep that lid half on, half off, and let it go, let it cook. But they should all rise and then they'll sink to the bottom again when they're done. I just know they're really good. Kids love them. Everybody loves them. Or at least my kids do. My kids love chicken and dumplings. I'm just going to roll them up like that and stick them on a plate. And the great thing is once you get it going, it doesn't take that long to make a lot of dumplings. It just kind of, it's time consuming in different ways. I mean, you got to start boiling the chicken first, and then you're going to, you're going to season it and boil it first, and then you're going to take the chicken out and debone it. Take all the skin off because you don't want the fat in your chicken broth. So remove the skin and take just the meat, and that's what you're going to put back into your chicken broth and boil it and do your dumplings until they're cooked. And I'll show you in just a second. They're going to sink back down a little bit, so it won't look like there's 10 dumplings in there, but there is, because I counted and I put them in. But you want to do this. Some of your dumplings, the reason I do so many, I do, I don't know, 60 to 80 dumplings, and the reason I do so many is because it is flour and whipping cream. So some of it might fall apart and make your chicken broth thicker. Some of them may or may not fall apart. So then you have dumplings that have fallen apart. but it still makes it good. It still makes your chicken and dumplings good because it just adds to the thickness of your chicken broth. And that's kind of what you want. You want to add to the thickness of it. And this is actually, I took 3 or 4 different people's recipes and put them all together because I like. Okay, so now I've got a plate full of dumplings ready to go, ready to be dropped in. I've washed up my hands, as you can see, and I've got it at a rolling boil, okay, so that my dumplings are getting done. And I flopped a few more in. I don't know what I was saying before my camera cut off, but anyway, I put a few more in there. See, like this one's starting to come apart a little bit. Some of them may do that, and that's fine. It'll be absolutely fine. You just want to stir it and then put the lid back on it, let it come to another rolling boil, and drop more dumplings in, and drop, put the chicken back in. I'm going to add the chicken back to it here in a second when it comes up to a rolling boil again. And then I'm going to add the dumplings to it. This whole plate of dumplings, and I'm going to do another plate probably. I won't have time on my video to show that part. But when you serve it, it is so good. You just serve it like a soup in a bowl, and there you go. Done and done. I put a little extra salt and pepper on mine when it's done. There, it's starting to boil over a little bit. See what I said? It makes a big fat mess if you don't pay attention. Anyway, I'm going to add the chicken back to it right now while it's boiling like this. That way it doesn't cool it off too much. I'm going to take this whole plate of chicken that I deboned, took the bone off of earlier, and add it back to it a little at a time. Because you don't want it to stick to the bottom, but you want to have time enough to stir it. That's enough for right now. Let's get it back to a rolling boil. Because if it's not at a rolling boil, then your dumplings are going to fall apart more. So let's get it back to a rolling boil and start dropping. I'll put the rest of the chicken in there, put the rest of the dumplings in there, and we should be ready to eat in about another 20 minutes. But this has been a process. If you don't have enough time, because you work or on a school night or whatever, I would say do this recipe on a weekend or when you know you're going to be off, because it is time consuming. It's very time consuming. It's probably taken me, I'd say almost 4 hours, because I've been slow going because I've had to stop and do other things, but it should only take like 2 hours. The whole recipe, start to finish, 2 hours. But I kind of drug it out a little bit because I was doing other stuff. Sorry for that. But yeah, I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. That's what it looks like when it's cooking. I'll show you what it looks like when I put it in the bowl. Okay, this is what it looks like when it's all done and you have your chicken and dumplings all done and ready to serve. There you go. You have your chicken and your dumplings. It thickened up really nicely for you. And that's what it should look like. Thanks for watching.